that we're dealing with now, I think they're actually much more reasonable and in many ways smarter than the first tier and the second tier who are no longer with us.
And why aren't they?
Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Graddick, your host. Delighted to have you with us this morning. And we have some very special guests in studio. Old friend, Steve Schneider, who's with Pastoral Counseling at Midway Church, and Katie Reid, Lifeline Community Resource Center Director. And our topic this morning is going to be the Lifeline Community Resource Center at Midway Church. Before we dig into that and get really started, I usually start with a bio, but I don't have a bio this morning for each of our two guests, so I'm going to let Katie start off first. Give me a little bit two-minute synopsis of how you came to be director and your background.
Okay, thank you very much for having us here today. It's an honor to share about what God's doing over at Midway Church. So Midway Church has been a part of my story since 2002. My husband and I came back to the West Georgia area where he is from. He grew up in Bowden, graduated from Bowden High School, and when we got married, just really had a heart for coming back and reaching people who dropped out of church for lots of different reasons. He grew up in church, loves the local community, and he saw a lot of his friends deciding once they graduated high school, went off to college, that church was no longer part of their life. And so in 2002, we came back and partnered with Midway Church to plant a church in Villa Rica, Georgia, to reach people who might not step into a traditional church setting. So we were contemporary, casual, but very biblically based.
And this was 2002, long before contemporary services really caught on.
In fact, if you read in one of Pastor Todd Wright's books, my husband's name is mentioned because he had a little part in influencing him towards that direction. But Todd believed in him and that vision. And so we went and planted a church. We were there 10 years, raised the church up in that small rural community up to about 300 attenders every week. And it was thriving. And we we knew that at that time that it could move forward with a bivocational pastor. If you recall back in the 2007, 8, 9, that we had a big recession. And so my husband saw saw the church through that, kept our building, kept our staff, and it was able to, by 2012, look at passing it off to a new pastor as we entered a new season of life with a third baby on the way, big surprise. And so he went back into engineering. He's a Georgia Tech grad.
Couldn't be better.
And he now works for Chick-fil-A Corporate, and he runs their industrial engineering program. But in the meantime, I was raising children, and I had been a high school math teacher. But after having been in ministry and a pastor's wife leading women's ministries and community groups, the welcome team, you know, pastor's wife has to do a little bit of everything, especially in a small church. I decided to go back and get my master's degree in counseling because I just saw the need that people have today for deeper soul care. So once I finished that, I launched my own private counseling practice, worked here locally as an executive assistant at Across Healthcare. They're a small firm in Carrollton. And then Pastor Chad at Midway, who I had a long-term relationship with because of our connection, called and said, hey, I have a job opportunity for you. We're opening expanding the Community Resource Center, and we wondered if you'd be willing to come and be a part of that. And so several meetings with Chad and Pastor Kevin led to me stepping into this new role, directing the Resource Center, which is really, right now, we have a highly functioning counseling ministry team.
Well, before we start talking about it exactly, it's kind of, how long ago was that when you assumed this role?
Well, it's been pretty recently. So Chad called last summer.
Just a matter of months?
I started in January.
Oh, okay.
My first day was January.
Well, that's
5th.
good because
Yes.
now we can basically introducing the Lifeline Community Resource Center to everyone and
Yes.
getting an early understanding of what it's like. Okay, Steve, your time up. Give us a 2-minute bio of you, and because you've played a pivotal role, obviously, for decades.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here. My family roots are Southwest Pennsylvania Mennonite farm people and cabinet makers, and so it's a long journey for me to Georgia. That included living in 7 different states and a number of different communities. But my wife Tina and I came to Georgia in 2009. I was brought to Georgia and hired by the family development firm that developed the Foxhall Resort property.
You're responsible for that.
I did a lot of work on the Foxhall project for the first few years that we were in Georgia, but I was also in seminary. I had an earlier executive career in the hunting, fishing, boating industry for 25 years, but God called me to ministry about age 50. So we came and found our way to Carrollton in 2010, by far the best place we've ever lived. Looked for a new church home and settled on Midway. No idea at the time that Todd would offer me the opportunity 3 years later to begin to develop a care ministry at Midway Church. I was working at Tanner. I worked with Tanner for 7 years, those last few years as chaplain for all of their hospital systems. But Todd created the opportunity for me to develop a care and counseling ministry. The church was growing fast, and for a church with the history and the legacy of Midway Church, it was important that we take care of our people as we continue to grow and expand.
And the history is over a century.
It is. This July will be 178 years that Midway Church has existed on that same piece of property.
And we see the evidence of that with the cemetery and the smaller church out in front.
That's right. And in the back of that smaller church building, which will eventually become the headquarters for the Community Lifeline Resource Center, is a small spring-fed pond. And 6 pioneer families in the mid-1800s found that spring in that pond and said, this is where the church goes. And we, although we're a big modern fellowship today, with over 3,000 people weekly in attendance in our services, it all started on that same piece of property with 6 pioneer families. We are the second oldest church in Carroll County.
Wow. As we celebrate 200 years in Carroll County, I want to know in another program how we can explore that, because that was right at the beginning of the county. So that's fascinating. Okay, Katie, we're back to you. The Lifeline Community Resource Center. Give us what it is and what it's called to do.
Well, currently we have this thriving counseling ministry that Steve pioneered for us.
Right.
We have contract counselors as well as his pastoral counseling care that is provided. We are looking to grow that. And we also have a large food pantry ministry that's been going almost 20 years at this point. And during COVID is when it had to go from a choice pantry where people could go pick their own food to drive-through. But that has also enabled us to provide many meals in a short amount of time that, in fact, currently we've been feeding about 1,900 households a week. So just to, that's not right, not a week. No. We feed 400 a week, 1,900 in the year.
Okay.
So in the year 2025, 1,900 individual households received food from Lifeline.
On a regular basis, I would assume.
Well, yes, they would sporadically, week to week, it's about
As the need was,
300 to 400 people a week. And so we don't just give meals to individuals, but it's to feed families. And so when you think about in 2025, 1,900 households, that would be the same amount as filling 75 school buses full of people. So a line of school buses, that's more than we have in the county, I would imagine, school bus wide.
Yeah.
And then the poundage of food is kind of a big deal as well. They weigh the food because we have to report to the different food banks who provide food for us. So we receive from the Atlanta City Food Bank as well as Midwest Food Bank. And then we also have a partnership with a bakery where we get bread. And so the poundage adds up to like 412,000 pounds in a year, which is the same as a 747 airplane. So that's a lot of food that ministry it's volunteer. Very organized professional woman who has a heart for this ministry, and she oversees the over 20 volunteers who are regulars week to week.
But beyond the food distribution, there are other things that y'all are planning.
We are envisioning not only food, but potentially one day also having a clothing store, more like kind of like Blake House, like a thrift store where people can come and find whatever other needs they might have for their family. We're looking at potentially, there's the vision for like a computer lab, people to come have online training, search for employment. We want to have spaces that are available for foster care support for the families, whether it's visitation, training. Definitely, this is something Steve can speak to, our partnerships with DFACS in the community. And then there's even the thought that we would, because we have the space that we have, we could have a medical clinic or a dental clinic where maybe doctors, dentists who are retired, who just have that philanthropic heart, would come and donate some of their time to serve the underserved in our community. So we have that old church building to renovate and turn into the vision that we have for Lifeline Community Resource Center.
Well, let's take a break, and we're going to come back more and learn more and get some more of the details with Katie Reid and Steve Schneider after these words.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy specializes in a customized designed academic approach tailored to meet the needs of our families. Our lower division prepares students with the necessary foundation to build excellence. Our middle division provides students with over 15 course offerings, providing them with opportunities to explore their talents and gifts. Our upper division provides personalized academic journeys, allowing them to achieve their dreams. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us, where every path leads to purpose.
Good morning. Welcome back to Community Voice. We're very pleased. Lifeline Community Resource Center Director, and we're talking about the Lifeline Community Resource Center. And we've gone through a whole lot of things: a food pantry, clothes closet, computer training, foster care support, et cetera, et cetera. This is it not, Steve, really the proper role of the church, particularly a church of the size of Midway?
It really is, not just because Midway Church has a long history here in Carroll County and in the West Georgia, East Alabama market, but the truth is that 100 years ago, many of the functions of these state agencies, such as DFACS, the Federal Food Stamp Program, were not in place, and those responsibilities were widely recognized as existing in the church community. People 100 years ago who were struggling for any number of reasons, health issues, financial stress, their immediate family was their first resource, their extended family was their second resource, and right after that was the community and the church in that community. And so helping with childcare, helping with food, helping repair things at the home were all centered in the church community. And so I actually see the expansion of our resources at Midway as a long-standing commitment that we've had for over a century to the people in the community, with or without a Midway Church connection. There are people every week that pick up food. There are people who we counsel that have never been on the Midway Church property, but our heart is for the community. We see this as our local mission field.
And really, the humanity relationship that a church can have in this support is infinitely greater than what government can offer.
Absolutely, and that's one reason why we are happy to partner and have a long history of partnering with state agencies like DFACS. We have had CASA volunteer training programs twice at Midway in the last 3 or 4 years. And Judge Palmer has sworn in more than 30 new CASA volunteers. Those are formal government and court-related programs, but as a church, we want to support that because we know that the need is great in the community, and we have a particular heart for at-risk families and at-risk children.
Let's stay on that just for a second, Katie, because we've done several programs here on foster care and the need is significant, if you will. I mean, we got, whether it's 12 or 15 foster families, but we got well over 100 foster kids that need foster care. So how do you see in these very early stages, early months, of how y'all can support foster families?
Well, the first thing is that families who are at risk and going through struggles, they need to have dignity, and a lot of what our ministry offers is that. It's a space to grow and learn, develop, and having space where they can come meet. Oftentimes, parents who've lost custody of their children still have visitation rights, but there needs to be an approved location, and so our building would offer visitation space, and as well as then on site, if there were other needs that need to be filled, whether it's through the clothing closet or the food pantry, they would be aware of it being there and have that at their disposal, as well as counseling services. We have a counselor on our team who specializes in children and trauma, and so many of her clients would come from this particular community. Children who are in foster care, who have been adopted, who've gone through traumatic experiences, and we want to offer the care that they need, specialized to where they are. And this building offers the space for that, as well as the people who have a heart to invest in that.
So more general support for foster families means more people would probably look at becoming a foster family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, we would hope that would be the case, Steve. I have some updated statistics, and for all of the wonderful things about the West Georgia community that my wife Tina and I have fallen in love with. We have great resources here with Tanner Health Systems. We have great employment opportunities with Southwire. We have a great university in our community. But there are some unique challenges to the Carroll County and the West Georgia area. And for example, in foster care right now, the most recent statistics, Heard County has 17 children in foster care. Douglas County, 153. Coweta County, the entire Noonan-Coweta County community, 80 children currently in care. In Carroll County alone, 187 children. Those Carroll County children are in far reaches of Georgia, but every time there's a court date, they've got to come back. The local county right.
I mean, it's horrific. It really is. Before we take our next break, we've been using, I'm going to throw this back at Steve because I want to let him, I'm going to put him on the spot. And then we'll go to our next break. We've been using a term since the beginning called pastoral counseling. What exactly is pastoral counseling?
Well, just as we said a few minutes ago that many of these community service functions with the food pantry have historically been a role in the church, so has pastoral counseling. For most of church history in the United States, pastors, ministers, priests would meet with members of their congregation and perhaps people from the community to offer wisdom and counsel. What I have seen in my own life experience with Tanner as a chaplain is that there are many medical professionals that welcome spiritual guidance in the traditional healthcare realm. Certainly psychiatrists have their own view of how to address people's problems, but our view as a church and our view as a counseling ministry is that God's truth, the revealed word of the Bible, is applicable in every setting, in the hospital, in the home, in the school, in the community. Every facet of human struggle, which is common to all humans, can be addressed by bringing biblical truth into sharper focus. God created us in His image. The Bible helps us understand His wisdom as to what works well and what doesn't work well and what to do about it when there's an issue. And so we believe pastoral counseling belongs in every aspect of human life.
And hopefully in every aspect of our society.
Yes. And yet fewer and fewer churches offer pastoral counseling, and it's increasingly difficult to access Christian counseling or biblical counseling because, especially since the pandemic, those resources have been stretched. And so we see a ready availability of folks with a need for counseling. And so we try to open our doors to anyone.
Perfect opportunity for a tease after the commercial. We're going to talk about the pandemic a little bit, and we'll be back with more after these words.
Imagine a place where every heartbeat is monitored with the utmost care, where emergencies are met with swift attention, and where cutting-edge technology enables precise and timely treatments. At Tanner Health, every patient's journey is a testament to resilience, a story of strength, healing, and hope. We go beyond treatment to redefine what compassionate care truly means. That's Tanner Health. That's care redefined. Learn more at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy is a vibrant community built on innovation, academic excellence, and a 64-year legacy of shaping community leaders. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school at Oak Mountain Academy, inviting you to visit the mountain and experience firsthand the passion, purpose, and personalized education that defines our school. Come see how our mission and vision come to life each day. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us so that you can discover your journey on the mountain, where every path leads to purpose.
6.3, we're on the AM 1330. You're streaming live. The devastation and the dynamic of all the many prices that we've paid not only in the deaths of Americans, et cetera, from the COVID pandemic, but our walkaway conclusion was it's going to take generations for America to recover, if they ever really do, from all the kids, they were kept out of classroom, the relatives that weren't able to be seen because of isolationism, et cetera, et cetera. As Lifeline Community Resource Center, really ratchets it up and gears up now, what are some of the post-COVID symptoms that y'all hope to address?
Well, Steve, I don't think that that's an overstatement that it's going to take a generation or two to recover. Let's start with just the basic fact that whatever number of COVID deaths you want to settle on, let's just say 1 million or more actual deaths. One of the unusual, extraordinary realities is that most of those people died without friends and family present in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of those deaths represents 5 or 10 or 20 people that are still alive and that are living today with the guilt and with the emotional distress of knowing that because of the rules that were in place, however they arrived there, they could not be present for the passing of a loved one. And so we saw an immediate escalation, not just in fear and anxiety during and past the actual pandemic, but the pent-up guilt and struggle with folks because of frustration and the anxiety, the spiritual sense of having abandoned a spouse or a child or a parent during that. And so our demand for counseling has doubled annually every year since 2021.
What about younger people? We see, we see the phenomenon of people have the cell phone implanted, it seems like somehow surgically 5 inches from their face, and it never leaves. I mean, and all of this is like combining together and in putting a wedge between the conversations and the connectivity of human to human.
Well, I would say it's not just a wedge. I would say it actually is a disruptive and sometimes disruptive force. The amount of anxiety and depression, the suicide rate among adolescents and young people has grown dramatically during the pandemic and since. And it is also the fact that a lot of family strife was uncovered. A lot of parents had children in preschool programs, after-school programs, 3 different summer camp programs, and all of a sudden in 2020 and 2021, they were forced to be home with their own children.
Yeah.
And they struggled to be relationally healthy in the dynamic between spouses and parents and children. So there's a multiplier effect of the pandemic impacts on the health and well-being. The one positive thing I always point back to with everyone that I personally interact with or that our other partner counselors serve is this: none of this was a surprise to God. The pandemic was not a surprise. The internet is not a surprise. And so we always have the opportunity to apply.
Well, nothing's a surprise to God.
That's correct.
Katie, we only got about a minute left. Give us a wrap up in terms of if people want to support Lifeline Community Resource Center, how they should go about it.
Well, currently we are mostly funded through Midway Church, so they can give a food pantry. We have designated funds for both of those, and if anyone needs the support, currently we have food distribution Mondays 2 to 4 p.m. You can show up right there on property at Midway Church, come around in line at the Lifeline Resource Center. Mondays 2 to 4 p.m., Tuesdays 8 to 11 a.m. So there's an afternoon option and a morning option. We have signage up around the property, and you can just show up and they will register you right then and there to get food that day.
Well, we trust that this Lifeline Community Resource Center growth under your care will be expansive and enormous and wonderful, and it'll bless many thousands upon thousands of people and their families. Katie and Steve, thank you for coming in. Hopefully we can have you back soon. And we thank our sponsors and everybody for listening. Go out and make it a great day. God bless our troops. You're in tune to WLBB Carrollton.